Well, good morning, Geordies and Newcastle fans all around the globe. I'm Josh from Toon Army Philly, and I'm glad to join you this morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. But this should be hitting you just before the press conference with Eddie this afternoon. So this is going to be my predictions versus Wolves before we get some details. So there might be some little hints and teasers that I'll miss that Eddie will reveal in our interview. But I want to get right into it. Before we dive into it, don't forget all those things here. Please hit that thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get more people following us on Extra, NFTV, and more. Please stay tuned. I'm sure there's going to be more prediction videos coming out, I think, from Lee, maybe even a live stream, he said, and stuff all from the weekend with the local leagues and obviously match day content. Also, do not forget to tune in for the live fan reaction with me, your host. Will be taking your calls, and you can tell us your thoughts right after the game. So that will be within 5 to 10 minutes of the final whistle. I'll go live while Lee is getting all that other great content for you. But let's get right into it. And this is something I'm hopefully going to make a regular occurrence on the channel. But hopefully you'll like it. Please, again, give me a like, give me some comments so you can let me know what you like and dislike. So, moving on, some real quick, interesting facts and things coming up about our match against Wolves. Starting off, I thought it would be interesting, real quickly, to look at the Premier League head to head stats. We have played them 24 times. We have won 9 of them, lost 4 of them, and drawn 11. But I like to dive in a bit deeper. Let's talk about Eddie himself. How has Eddie played against Wolves in his managerial career? He's played them 13 times, won 7, lost 3, and drawn 3. And if we zoom in just another layer deeper, you can see that Eddie, since coming to Newcastle, has never lost to Wolves. So all good omens, to say the least. Another thing I just like to kind of bring myself up, again, not being a Geordie, being told all the folklore sometimes that you would by your families and stuff. I like to take these to be a moment to Google some things about maybe famous victories, famous things between each other, and the highest scoring game ever to be played between us was an 8-0 win by the Toon back in 1905 at St. James's Park with a hat trick from Bill Appleyard and a brace from Jimmy Howie. So don't think any of us were alive for that one, but still good to remember. Also, on the flip side of things, our largest defeat to Wolves came back in 1968 in November with a 5-0 loss at Molineux. Another little thing I thought was fun, just some famous players who've played for both clubs. The one that jumps out to me, obviously, again, I'm not the biggest historian of the club. I'm getting there. But one of the names that does jump out to me is Darren Peacock. I've heard I've heard some bright stories and things about Mr. Peacock. So, anyways, just some fun facts. But as we dive into the game tomorrow, first thing, our ref will be Chris Kavanaugh. I know for some of you guys, you like to dive into any controversies maybe of late or whatever with them. Nothing that I could find from last year. Last year, he refed our away game at Wolves, which we won. He refed the Fulham game at home, in which we lost, but he also officiated the home game versus Man U, which we won. So let's move forward, though. What about our opposition? Let's do a little bit of a scouting report here. So, just some top level things. Their form coming into this game is 3 losses to Man City, Bournemouth, and Everton. However, in between there, they did beat West Ham in the Cup, in which Strand Larson got a brace as a sub to snatch that game for them. On the injury front and suspension front, not too much for them. Obviously, maybe you football purists might know it, but Hoover, a Dutch midfielder who plays for them, again, first season for them as he was last year on loan to Auxerre. But he hurt his knee in that game versus Everton. He's been playing the first two games as right mid, according to FB Ref. So that might be something that causes them to mix things up. Who to watch, in my opinion, not that I'm a Wolves expert, but the two names that seemed to jump out when I was doing some quick Googling and researching, obviously Strand Larson and the connection with us is going to be relevant, and also their midfielder, Andre. Strand Larson, in his 37 Premier League appearances, he has 14 goals and 4 assists. Also, Andre, a holding midfielder, is someone to be of note, being that he's a holding midfielder in his 36 games, no goals or assists. But from what I can see, is a vital defensive player in the midfield and also kind of maybe progressing that ball a bit. Also, shout out to some content I watched on YouTube, Talking Wolves TV from Dave. I kind of took this from him. He built this lineup, and he thinks they're going to go a 5-2-2-1 with this format, as you can see in the bottom right. Now, obviously, this is NFT Extra. Let's get on to Newcastle and what we think Newcastle are going to do. The big talking points coming into this for Newcastle, form-wise, not what we'd like to see, a draw, a loss, and a draw. After all, it was I that in our preseason prediction, I predicted from these first 3 games, a bit ambitiously, 7 points. Now, albeit the points do not reflect anything close to that, I will say we had solid performances in the draw to Villa and the loss to Liverpool. I would say the performance against Leeds was a bit not to be desired in that draw, but nevertheless, 2 points on the board. Injuries, obviously Joe Linton, which again, a lot of these we might get updates in the press conference in a few hours, so stay tuned. But Joe Linton still possibly out. Willock still possibly out. And also Ramsey did leave that Leeds game with a knock, so possibly he might be out too. Also, let's not forget that unfortunately Anthony Gordon still has 2 games to serve on that straight red card. But for me, the big talking point is we finally got a striker. We've got Woltemade and Wissa. And who starts? Now, if you ask me, there's a lot of good arguments to go both ways. But in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be Wissa. My logic being that Eddie has a track record, I think, especially with younger, still developing players like Woltemade, to not want to throw them, no pun intended, to the Wolves. And I think, albeit it sounds like Woltemade has had more time in training with the club, he returned back from international break earlier than Wissa. I think with Wissa being a seasoned Premier League player and knowing what the game is like, having a good idea about his opposition will play a key part in this. And I think he will just go to him. Now, I would expect to see Woltemade come on at some point, I think. I think he's been practicing, and that will give hopefully Eddie some comfort to give him exposure. I think, especially being that it's at home, Eddie probably, if bare minimum, hopefully wants to give him that kind of ceremonious, welcome to the fans, if you will. So to me, that's why I'm going for Wissa, but I have very high hopes for Woltemade. As I've mentioned a few times on the channel, the only other team I really follow in European football is Stuttgart. I lived in Stuttgart for a bit. That's what got me into football as a whole. And so I have seen a good bit of Woltemade as I'm watching Stuttgart. But The other important thing is we got to get a win. It doesn't really matter how it comes, in my opinion. Performance. This is one of those classic games where performance per se doesn't matter. It's just the result. We need to get the win. You can't be dropping points against Wolves, a team who's not in good form, a team which we have good record against, and we are at home. Obviously, there are some things playing against us. Obviously, there's still cohesion that needs to be built within this squad, but we need to be able to overcome that with most of our team being regulars in the starting 11. I mean, I actually forgot to mention, if you go back to our opposition real quickly and you look at that projected starting lineup, actually 6 of that starting 11 from their for Wolves. This is their first year in the Premier League. So we need to take advantage of that, just still getting up to speed with the league of our opponent. So, hopping back to us, obviously, another big thing I think that will play in our favor is our depth remains strong. Yes, we still have a few knocks, but we have the likes of Botman, Chow, Miley, Murphy, or Alanga, depending on who starts, Hall or Trippier, depending on who starts, and even Ramsey, hopefully on the bench if not starting. So lots of options at our disposal if unfortunately even the starting lineup doesn't work out. But let's get down to the meat and potatoes of it. What is the prediction? The prediction is for me a 2-0 win with goals from Murphy and Bruno. But here you can see my predicted lineup. As I already said, I think Wissa will get the start. I think in this game we'll go Murphy, just because Murphy was not away on international duty, and I think there's going to be a lot of rotation coming up in the coming weeks. After all, we've got Barcelona just a couple days after that. Then we've got another game right after that. I forget who we've got in the league. So lots of games coming thick and fast. The other slight tweak I did is just because I think I want the experience of Cher and Trippier for the Barcelona game. I think it's time to bring in Hall, and I think it's time to give Chow a start and put Tino over on the right. Obviously, there's a good chance that wouldn't happen, but that's kind of what I would go with personally, again, with all the rotation that's going to be necessary in the coming weeks. But let me know what you think. Am I talking rubbish? Let me know. But it's going to be interesting indeed. But I thank you for watching. If you've stayed this long, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'm going to try to keep getting more videos out like this, some recorded videos throughout the week to help Joe and Lee and the team. Please smash that like button, hit the subscribe, consider becoming a member. You get access to all kinds of things behind the scenes, starting at just 99 pence. But I'm looking forward to the game. I'm just ready for all the ESEC stuff to be behind. Back to football. I'm not much of an international football, so these breaks bore the living heck out of me. So I'm just ready to see the Toon kick some butt at St. James's Park. Well, I've been your host, Josh from Toon Army Philly. Thank you, and we'll chat soon. Away the lads and lasses.